they're all on the edges of the frame, and like that's a criticism of the movie, but I think that's not a bad thing. I think that like seeing this main story go forward and seeing it for what it is, which is not a revolutionary hero story,
It is certainly not.
and having all of these real moments of struggle and power and strength on the frame, I think is actually a strength of the movie and the strength of the politics of the movie. I'm not sure the director completely understands that, but it's clearly to me as an optimist trying to watch the movie, that's like the best part.
You tear down the house, then you put up the rent. You pocket the cash, and you crush all dissent.
Hello and welcome to the Red Diaper Pale. This is episode 15. We are recording on December 28th, 2025. It is our last episode of 2025. This is a podcast about art, culture, history, politics, technology, and parenting from a left perspective. I'm Simone.
And I'm JP. Merry Christmas to all, including the radical left scum that is just doing everything possible to destroy our country, but are failing badly. We no longer have open borders, men and women's sports, transgender for everyone, or weak law enforcement. What we do have is a record stock market and 401ks, lowest crime numbers in decades, no inflation, and yesterday a 4.3 GDP, 2 points better than expected. Tariffs have given us trillions of dollars in growth and prosperity, and the strongest national security we have ever had. We are respected again, perhaps like never before. God bless America, President Donald J. Trump.
It's not the same if you can't see the words he capitalized.
This random capitalized.
Yeah, it's really not the same.
It's not the same, although it is nice to know that he was thinking of us on Christmas.
You know, he was thinking of a lot of people on Christmas, apparently.
Yeah, he went on a whole thing, but this is funny. Like, no more men in sports, but also no more transgender for everyone.
Capital T, capital E.
Capital T. So, I guess we'll have to revert back to our original genders now.
What?
Never mind. Because everyone had to be transgender.
Oh, I see. How was your Christmas?
A lot of work. This fucking That's a huge. I mean,
we did a lot.
Yeah, it's you want to make it as special as you can for the kids, and it takes a lot of work. But I think I've done a better job recently of reminding myself how much of a privilege it is to be able to do this, and how nice it is to be able to spend this time with family and create these important memories for the kids and see their joy and stuff. And that sort of carried me through, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah, I can't. Tired. I've had I had the time off work, and obviously you have the time off work, and I can't imagine trying to do it if we were trying to work.
People who have to work off, like every day, except plus their kids are home and they're still having to work. I mean, that's crazy.
Because I felt like I was pulling like 20-hour shifts just to do Christmas magic and like feed people and keep everyone from killing one another. But if I was also working, it would have just been really sucked. But yeah, we string together some good days.
Yeah, we did
for the kids.
Yep. No, they're having a great break, and we haven't killed each other or them. And
babies still aren't sleeping.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
And your mom's here.
And my mom is here, and
will be our first live studio audience if she gets through bedtime.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Maybe she'll make a guest appearance, a little cameo at some point when she comes down and eating something from me. Okay. So what we're going to do this time is we barely got it together to record this week.
Yeah, this has actually been the hardest week to get it done.
Yeah. So we're going to do a little bit of a holiday special episode and a little bit of an experiment. This will be our first time doing a movie review episode. So we're going to skip horrible headlines. Partially because it's a slow news week, and partially because we want to do
I haven't read the news in like a week.
I know. I'm assuming it's slow because I've heard it. And wanted to review our favorite movie of 2025 for you.
Is it my favorite movie of 2025?
It is.
Did I watch any other movies that came out in 2025?
Not many.
K-pop Demon Hunters.
Okay. You can't possibly.
That was pretty good.
It is pretty good.
I think that might be the only other 2025 movie I saw. I don't know if I'm comfortable calling it my favorite movie of 2025.
Okay. Well, it's definitely Simone's favorite movie of 2025, even if she's uncomfortable calling it that. And we're talking about, of course, one battle after another. So
I'm just Googling other movies that came out in 2025. just in case I saw any of them.
If you have not seen it, you can now stream it. So go watch it before you listen to this episode because we're going to pretend that you've seen the movie.
Spoiler alert.
It is well worth watching. It's definitely, it's problematic in a couple of different ways and not perfect politically. I don't need a movie to be perfect politically to enjoy it.
The
But I
Bridget
thought it was
Bridget
perfect.
Jones Mad About the Boy. I almost finished that last Christmas break. That's
Oh,
a
yeah?
2025 movie.
Okay. How did you almost finish a movie last Christmas break that was a 2020?
I don't know. That maybe it was a little sneak peek. Maybe I got an early copy.
That was a contender for Best Picture.
They think they sent it to me early for a review. Anyways, you're right. I literally have seen no other movies other than K-pop Demon Hunters.
So therefore, it's your least favorite and most favorite.
It's my favorite movie of 2025.
Okay.
Clearly, someone who's seen no movies of 2025 should be doing their review of.
Well, you should definitely be giving an endorsement of what you think the best one is.
Minecraft movie. Didn't see it.
Minecraft movie you never saw?
No.
The kids have watched like 4 or 5 times at
Yeah.
this house.
Superman. I saw that.
You did.
Not
Definitely
very-
definitely
not
not
good.
as good as this.
How to Train Your Dragon. Didn't see it.
I've seen all these movies.
Interesting. The Fantastic Four. I thought that was delightful.
It was definitely better than a lot of recent Marvel fare, but it was not very good either. Pedro Pascal is very good.
I mean, I think he's overrated. Actually,
No, you don't. Give it a break.
he is way overrated. I mean, he's like his stock's way up, and he's like a 7, and he's like a 10, like rated as a 10.
Aren't
And
you
it just-
commenting on what he looks like?
No. Like, I mean, like his vibe.
Okay. His vibe.
He's a movie
got
star.
a
You
7
can comment on what he looks like. Most of what he's known for is his forearms or something.
Oh, really? I mean, that's good because mostly my notes on the movie we're actually reviewing are on what people look like. So
You're reviewing people's forearms.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio made forearms. Benicio del Toro didn't get to see his forearms.
No.
Tiana Taylor, excellent forearms. Sean Penn, very short, walks with a terrible gait.
He also is. He didn't know that he was in a movie. Actually, they just
Sean
followed
Penn.
him around
Yeah.
with the camera.
That's what it sort of seemed like. Also, at times, something about his face looks like my grandfather's.
Oh no,
Dad, if you're listening, I wonder if you also noticed.
Oh no!
But like not in like a
Because they're evil wasps.
no.
the-
Is it because of evil? My
it's
grandfather
the
was an
evil
evil wasp,
wasp.
though. But there's
Aren't
something.
they all evil though? Isn't that the point?
I think it was the nose. I don't know. Something was going on there. He could be related to us. So, anyways, the best and worst movie of 2025. We watched it over 4 nights because our kids don't sleep, and it's really fucking long.
It is really long. Too long. I think it was a terrific movie. I was enthralled. Too long, and mostly too long because the first act, biggest act.
The entire beginning, the first 30 minutes could be cut. And in fact, I almost was unable to watch it because I was so not into it after the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's weird because wouldn't you in editing like be like, oh shit, we have a problem?
The first 30 minutes were treated to the origin of the characters, which is in a revolutionary radical left organization called the French 75. I think to me it was based clearly on the Weather Underground. They're using terror tactics. They're trying not to kill anybody, but they're using violence and terror tactics to attack principally like immigration, and they established that immigration is going to be a main focus of the film at the beginning. I don't think it's an accident that it's immigration, although one of the points I want to make is this is not a film about how bad MAGA is. It's a film about how bad the U.S. empire is pre-MAGA. It's really about pre-MAGA immigration policy, but we can sort of get into that a little bit later. But so we established that. We're also introduced to
The One Battle After Another is a reference to the Weather Underground as well.
okay.
But yeah, the French 75. The first scene you see is them raiding an ICE detention center.
Yeah. It's Scoping it out is Tiana Taylor, who is a actress and hip hop artist and singer and dancer and choreographer who plays.
Perfidia Beverly Hills.
She's sort of the leader of the band, and she's charismatic, she's ruthless, she's unafraid, and her soon-to-be boyfriend, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, Ghetto Pat,
Mm-hmm.
who's kind of a bumbling background doing the explosives guy.
A bumbling bomber.
Bumbling bomber, yeah. So there's the opening sequence where they raid the ice thing. We're introduced to Sean Penn's character, who's a military officer named Lockjaw, which is not very subtle, and she sexually humiliates him. He's commanding the ice facility, and she sexually humiliates him, and he kind of likes it. So we get this sort of the stage is set. The first act is through, I think, largely through. She's the agent in the entire first act. She's basically the protagonist. We see a little bit of her through his eyes, but mostly it's her show.
I think we absolutely see her through a white male gaze.
Well, that's
the first act.
That might be the failure of the director, unless the intention.
We were seeing it. I figured we were seeing it her partially through either Leonardo DiCaprio's or Sean Penn's gaze, and that's one of the reasons the first 30 minutes is so hard to sit through.
I think, unfortunately, and I should mention that the director is Paul Thomas Anderson, PTA, who is famous for movies like Boogie Nights and Magnolia and There Will Be Blood.
But the most important thing about him, and the most impressive, is he is married to Maya Rudolph.
There Will Be Blood is, I think, if you're a guy, it has to be one of your favorite movies. And if you're a woman, it's why it is this allegory for American history, absent women of any kind.
I have not seen it.
Yeah.
Turns out I haven't seen any of PTA's movies, but I am impressed with who he's decided to marry.
I will be interested to see your reaction to Boogie Nights.
Is that the porn one?
It is.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible film.
Didn't we try to watch that? And I was like, no.
I don't know.
We might have.
Anyway, I think, unfortunately, seeing the first act is seeing her through the eyes of these white guys might be giving him too much credit. I think it's seeing her through his eyes, and it's kind of disappointing. I mean, I know what he's trying to do something.
Disappointing is a very weak word for what I'd call the first 30 minutes.
But the plot here is that they begin their violent but no-kill campaign against the U.S. imperial state, and they're using terror tactics,
right?
Which both of us have put no stock into, and partially because of our reading of like what the weather ground's mistakes were and stuff. But they're sort of recreating those mistakes.
Well, I don't know. So you get this like montage of revolutionaries doing revolutionary things.
Mm-hmm.
It is supposedly she is the protagonist. So you're seeing mostly her as the agent, but the character development is stunted at best. Basically, what you learn about her is that revolution and sex go together, and that's it. I mean, you get her sexually humiliating Sean Penn at the beginning. Mm-hmm. You get her really wanting to like kiss and or have sex with Leonardo DiCaprio during revolutionary bombings.
Yeah, she demands that they
have sex while a bomb goes off.
Wait for a bomb
like,
off.
So you basically just get like there's like a psychosexual thing happening with her and like the thrill of being a revolutionary and sex with men.
Yeah, so we have this in her head, sex and power and revolution are all mixed into a big thing, and she's exerting her power. And there's some like specific commentary on like the power of the vagina or whatever over men, and that's somehow gets mixed up with her power. And like I would have to say that the actress does such a good job that it's hard to notice how shallow the character is because the performance is dynamic. She's like as charismatic as you believe that people are following her. You believe what she's doing, but so she gets caught by Sean Penn's character, who's become obsessed with her and is following her around, and he catches her in the act of planting a bomb. He basically admits he doesn't give a shit what she blows up. He couldn't care less about that, but if she wants to keep on doing what she's doing, then she's gonna have to meet him at a hotel, which she agrees to do.
Mm-hmm.
Soon after, she's pregnant, and she's hanging out with the band, and Leo DiCaprio is kind of annoyed that she doesn't seem to be taking it seriously.
Well, she's drinking.
She's goofing around,
doing the sort of living the same life, and he seems perturbed by that.
Yeah, he's not happy. There's some sweet, tender moments where she gives birth, but then there begins this like, I guess, postpartum depression.
Well, she seems pretty unhappy postpartum, and then my read on that was she's leaving in the middle of the night. He asks where you're going, and then it ends up being a bank heist, which feels like a departure from their tactics. I feel like what's happening was both that she was kind of off the rails herself, her identity emotionally postpartum, and there's a risk that she's taking that's far beyond what like they were trying to do, which was like do things after hours, destroy private property, but don't like threaten people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then very predictably it
It
goes badly.
So I think one of the interesting things about this moment where she takes off is like we know that she's having this like difficulty connecting with motherhood. She's like feeling disconnected with her body. She's extremely jealous of her daughter's relationship with Leo. And she's admitting this on the phone. She's not talking to him about it. But then when she goes to leave, she makes it about political ideology. I'm not going to let you control me with your male ego by sort of waving this baby girl in my face. I have a revolution to go and fight.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, we don't do that anymore. We have kids, which I think is a very, like this, I think is a big theme for him. And I think that one is I have a lot of political misgivings about. I think family and political activity is a contradiction to deal with. And it's an interesting one to deal with. But like, would he make the same movie about like Martin Luther King? Like Martin Luther King's family home was firebombed. So, and he obviously prioritized his political work over his family. And I don't know that PTA would make the same commentary about that. But for a woman, I guess it's, different, or I don't know. Maybe the type of work they're doing is too risky.
To me, it was obvious that she was fleeing her child to go do something that probably she shouldn't be doing, which was immediately confirmed when it was a bank heist versus like
what they had been doing.
Like
she was looking for the thrill again. She needed the thrill.
And I did not take that as a commentary either from the director or the story that this was like, you cannot have a family and be a revolutionary. I think that she can't, because that character is shallow and flawed and makes no sense. And so if the only thing you have is like sexualized violence, sexualization, power, violence, and revolution, and they're just in a big stew. Yes, being a newly postpartum woman is going to be challenging. But I was not taking that as a larger condemnation of like revolutionary work in families.
Okay. We'll see this dynamic come up a couple more times, so I'll ask you more about it then. A couple of other things I wanted your opinion on. One is, at some point, Perfidia's mother, I think, is supposed to be, tells Leo that he's unsuitable for her when the baby's on its way,
mm-hmm.
that he's a stump and she's a runner, and that he doesn't got what it takes to be the person that she needs. What are we supposed to make of that? Is he sort of supposed to be a dud? Is that?
I don't know. I thought that was a weird line. I honestly think the first 30 minutes, almost all of it, are like these little like one-off quips that don't have depth and don't add up to like fullness of character.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder how much they actually already had cut. But
yeah,
the story there, at least all we gathered was that she was from a line of revolutionaries, and apparently he wasn't. So she's, the point is that her mom likes her.
The other thing, this is the only part of the first act which I think was really interesting and compelling. During the bank robbery, one of the revolutionaries in the gang, whose name is Jungle Pussy, jumps up onto...
That's also her name.
That's also her real name?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. So... And I think, he uses a couple of hip-hop artists.
It's her stage name. Yes, she's a hip-hop artist.
In order to, I think he lacks confidence that he's going to be able to portray these people in, either a hard-hitting enough way without being stereotyping, but also not wanting to, put them on a pedestal. So I think...
He absolutely should have lacked that confidence.
Well, he relies, I think, on... what I understand is there was a lot of expectation for them to ad-lib.
Yeah, I think that is true, and I think that he knew that he couldn't adequately portray this because it was out of his depths, and so he relied on making it the actors' problems to be a version of themselves, which is itself kind of yucky.
And also, if you lack confidence, then why would you make this black woman the sort of the main villain of the whole? That make her own,
especially because the book that it's based on, it was a white woman. So you changed your race. You made that choice. And then you were like, I can't write it myself. So let me get a hip hop artist to ad-lib it for me. I mean, seriously, that's some really weird decision making there.
Yeah.
He did not have the ability to pull this off. And he didn't.
He did not.
The whole thing started without Perfidia Beverly Hills being on screen. And there was just some flashbacks about her as a mother who left, as a snitch who left, as a revolutionary who left. They wouldn't have even had to fill in that many blanks. They wouldn't have had to given us that much.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think mostly this act is there to Freudianize the revolutionary, which I think is, I thought we were done with that, first of all. Like,
and I guess
some sort of psychosexual, like, thrill-seeking adventure.
to force an audience to watch a bunch of cringy stuff that clearly, you're right. The only thing you sort of watch and you're like, why is this a story? And then you're like, I think something might be going on with the director.
Yeah, there's really weird sexual encounter between Sean Penn's character and her, which is
several, but there's the second one.
The where she meets him in the hotel room, and that's not even clear what the sexual act is. But there's like I see why he's doing it. He's trying to play with power dynamics. He's trying to say that people have ideologies and take them very seriously, but they're also flawed and weird, and they're people. They're not something more than that. So they're going to carry with them all the baggage of people when they do that stuff.
People have so much to them, and if the only thing that you can manage to display about the person, the black female revolutionary, is her weird sexual, her kink that isn't even explored that interestingly.
Yeah.
Then you fucked up.
Yeah, it's very voyeuristic. I agree. Okay, so anyway, the best reason to have that first act, in my opinion, is Jungle Pussy standing on the counter at the bank giving a speech about what it means to have power. This is power. I don't have a mask. I'm not afraid. I'm going to take what I need to fight.
Waving your gun.
I'm going to take what I need for this revolution that I'm running. And then there's a pop. A gunshot's gone off. Her face immediately changes to one of holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
And you realize immediately that there was an element of acting here on all of their parts, where they were playing a game with risk. They were going up to a line and not crossing it because they realized that there wasn't really the power that they're claiming they had. And this moment reveals it, where they realize that they're all fucked now, because now they've committed murder and while commissioning a felony, and they're now serious criminals. Yep. And it's Perfidia has shot a security guard who's reaching for his gun. She's begging him to stop. And interestingly, the guard is a black guard.
Yeah.
He's on the ground bleeding, reaches for his gun. She kills him, and then they all take off as fast as they can.
And it destroys the French 75.
Yeah, this event destroys the French 75 because she gets caught. Perfidia gets caught. She's looking at 40, 50, 60 years of jail time. And Lockjaw comes in the room and basically convinces her to go into witness protection, which she immediately does.
And gives up all the names.
She gives up all the names. All of her friends, not all of them, but a huge number of them are hunted down.
They're not her friends, they're her comrades.
They're her comrades, yeah. Some of them are arrested. Some of them go out in a gunfight. And then more than a couple of them are summarily executed by Lockjaw acting on his own accord. Which is horrifying. And that part feels very true to life too, that like at this point the system is reacting as though it is in the middle of a war and it's doing whatever it needs to do. So
well, is it the system reacting? You also have this personality who's doing a lot of this stuff kind of in a rogue way, but
yeah, it's not clear at this point whether how much of this is him acting on his own accord or how much of this is the system acting through him.
And it becomes later on when other things advance, you realize that he is doing quite a bit of things on his own accord.
Absolutely. And I think that's also an intentional part of what he does in the better part of the movie.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So she blows up her movement.
She blows up her movement in order to avoid prison.
She abandoned her child.
She abandons her child. So she's now a rat. She's not only abandoned her child, she's not only like kind of too into the thrill-seeking part of this and not so much into the why are we doing this. And now she's also ratted them out and gotten a huge number of them killed. They all have to run across the country. Leo takes the daughter, and he's given a new identity, and he takes off.
Yep.
And then she escapes witness protection because she refuses to be owned by this guy. By Sean Penn, who now thinks he owns her forever. And that was the sort of the deal that they made on the side.
Which is, I mean, thank God. Because if it had gone the other way, it would have been almost unwatchable.
It would have been very hard to watch her be like domesticated by him or whatever it was.
So at least they get her, get that character to Mexico.
Yeah.
But then she's basically forgotten. That's it.
Her character weighs heavily on all of their minds throughout the movie, but she's absent. So, okay. So we fast forward to the beginning of Act 2. Leo is 16 years later. His daughter is a 16-year-old. She's a very serious parentified 16-year-old. Her father, Leo, is a drugged out, paranoid loser who she's taken care of more than anything else. And simultaneously we get an update on Lockjaw, who has climbed up the ranks of like the immigration enforcement, whatever. It's this is not ICE.
No, it's some sort of militarized police.
It's a military
Force.
police. It's not ICE, and I think it's important that it's not ICE, because ICE, you would get bumbling doofuses who like couldn't make it through the police academy but got sort of sworn in as soon as Trump got in. These are much more serious.
These are serious guys, and a lot of his success is built on the back of he gets a medal or something for bringing down the French 75 people. So he has used this to advance his own ambition, and he wants more.
Yeah, he wants more. So he gets invited to a meeting with the Christmas Adventurers Club, which is hilariously named White Supremacist Secret Society, that's
led by the president from Scandal.
Yes, who's, I guess, once again a high-ranking politician. He does a good job in this. He doesn't get a lot of
that's like, he's such a character actor. That's what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, this is the first time I've seen him do it as a white supremacist.
What it is he's very comfortable with power. That's his. I don't know. So anyway, Lockjaw is being invited to join this white supremacist secret society, which I guess we're meant to believe like is running a lot of the U.S. government
and corporations.
Yeah, and they're against everybody, and they only for what they consider to be native-born sons, and
which are in fact not native-born sons.
Yeah, and Lockjaw's invited to join, but he's asked, "Well, have you ever had a sexual relationship with a person of color?" Which he denies.
Well, and they also say we're going to do our deep investigation of you.
Yeah.
So they start looking into him.
Yeah. So this sets off a chain of events. So the guy, the who they call the Billy Goat, the guy who's
the tech guy
who's helping everyone get their new identities, gets kidnapped on Lockjaw's orders, and then interrogated. And I think Sean Penn is frightening in this. He reminds me of a lot of Christoph Waltz's character in
Inglourious Bastards.
In Inglourious Bastards. And he reminds me of Leo's character in Django Unchained, which is also another Christoph Waltz movie. He's really playing up how he's run on self-aggrandizement, delusion, hatred.
You know who you
He has his own sexual hang-ups, which have to do with sexualizing black women, which he does explicitly several times. Like he's got a hyperfixation on it. Go ahead.
Do you know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Paul Wolfowitz. Do you know why?
Why?
Because the scene where he takes the entire comb and puts it in his mouth and combs his little weird hair.
Oh yeah.
Paul Wolfowitz does that in Fahrenheit 9/11.
Oh really?
Sean Penn is deliberately parodying him.
Oh, is he?
I don't know about Paul Wolfowitz's sexual fetishizations or
I wonder if
predilections.
He's supposed to, he's hyper-masculating to the point of compensating. He's, he
doesn't strike me as hyper-masculine though. Yeah. I mean, he's built, but he's wearing a tight shirt. He's small. He looks like they filmed him to make him look even shorter than he is.
Yeah, I agree.
He walks with not what I would call a masculine gait. It's almost like a very stilted, uncomfortable, groin-oriented gait. I mean, so there's a scene at the beginning where
he's 5'8", by the way.
They film him smaller. There's a scene at the beginning where she humiliates him, and she makes him have an erection, and then makes him walk out with his hands tied.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, he's walking funny because his pants are like half down, and he's got his hands tied, and I swear he walks kind of like that the whole film. It's just there's a cringy. There's something about his portrayal that I would not call hyper masculine. I would call it performed masculine.
Yeah, it's maybe like to the point of like overcompensating. It's performative for sure, and it's he's a crazy person, and you sort of realize that there are
crazy person,
and you realize that there are people like this who have they haven't had an inner monologue their entire lives. And he's all.
And his arc, the way he's written and the way he's performed, I completely believe.
Yeah.
Because what they end up doing with him, they give you the full arc of crazy, ambitious, supremacist fuckhead. Okay. And he gets what he deserves.
Yeah. So anyway, so he has this guy from the French 75 abducted because he needs to find out where Leo and the daughter are, because this girl is
now-
related to this woman that he had a sexual relationship with.
Bob and Willow.
Which I guess the one thing that's unbelievable is like someone with his like sexual hangups. Probably this is not the only time he's had a sexual relationship with a black woman, but
Well, maybe he cleaned all those up.
maybe.
Anyways, he needs to know where Bob and Willa are. Those are their new identities. They kidnapped the guy who's good with the technology,
Yeah.
who is still a working revolutionary.
Yes. And he's doing pamphlets and a
Which
podcast.
I think is nice to see. There's a lot of moments where the real work
It's
is still happening. And it's not glorious, and it's on the margins of the movie, but it's there multiple times, and I do appreciate that.
100% agree.
That's the best of the politics of the movie.
We see a glimpse of a character that comes up a few times in the movie, who's I think is even more frightening than Sean Penn's character, which is the interrogator, who's a professional interrogator who's clearly been doing like torture in Iraq and Afghanistan for the last 20 years. He's very scary to me because he's very serious and self-controlled. Unlike Sean Penn's character, he's self-possessed. He knows what he's doing. He's
When he takes
very
orders,
frightening.
Sean Penn gives him orders. He does the job.
Yep. So they knock loose the location. So Sean Penn creates a pretext for going to this sanctuary town in California where Leo is hanging out with his daughter. They're going to do immigration raids on all of these businesses, and then go find these two. The orders are to kill Leo and to abduct the daughter.
Backton Cross is the name of the town.
Yeah.
Which the original title of the Thomas Pynchon book that this is loosely based off of is actually the Battle of Backton Cross.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Willa is going to a dance at the high school. Leo forces her to take this device that sort of sings when it's near another one of the same device. The only people who have this device.
I think she always takes the device.
She does, but she really, really resents it. But he forces her to take it. There's sort of a funny dialogue about her friends. One of them is gender queer, and he's trying to be progressive, and she's sort of giving him a hard time about his family.
I thought that dialogue was. I mean, I actually thought that dialogue. I know that it was trying to be like, oh, I'm the old washed up leftist, and you're like the new progressives. But it felt like he was kind of making fun of the young people having gender identities that are more fluid.
He wasn't taking it very seriously.
He wasn't taking it seriously. It just felt like punching down. It felt like unnecessary punching down, and it didn't really develop. I mean, it develops him as you further understand that he's like goofy, fuck up, loser dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't do much for her character. I just thought it was. There was other things where there's sort of a division of the generations, or of the old guard and the new guard, or the old revolutionary ways and the new ways, that I think are much more interesting comparisons, and I'm glad they have them in there. That one I thought was like, it fell flat.
Yeah.
He
also threatens.
mean.
Yeah, I agree. He also threatens which I guess is funnier. He threatens the driver of the
kid
car.
who's picking her up.
Yeah.
That felt real to me.
Yeah, and it also shows something about him, which is that he is washed up and kind of drug-addled, and kind of a fuck-up, but also still is taking it very seriously. And it's kind of a scary guy, because he's not,
He's a serious guy.
he's not a suburban dad. He's a serious guy who did serious things, with serious stakes on the line.
I think his character, just like Sean Penn's character, is very, very believable.
Yeah, and this is where he starts to really do a great job, I think.
His performance is excellent.
Yeah. All right. So she goes to the dance. He's hanging out at home, and then she gets rescued at the dance by a member of the French 75 who's still active, Lady Champagne, who she makes her give the password. We see these passwords and these. One of the things, there's a focus on tactics in this movie, which I really appreciate, because you're not sure the degree to which they're play acting being revolutionaries or they're actually being real revolutionaries. And I think the tactics help you ground you in like the sense of like, is this goofy shit that's sort of extraneous to the actual movement, or is this how we survive? Willa's attitude is like, this is dumb, you're paranoid, this is not helpful. Like, he won't let her have a phone, so she has a phone on the sly. But then you have this moment where like this password allows them to know that she can trust this Lady Champagne with her life. Lady Champagne says, we gotta get out of here pronto.
So that's Regina Hall. That's played by Regina Hall. I thought that performance was excellent. I really like Regina Hall.
I do too.
And I think that any of the characters that are still truly doing revolutionary work are the strongest in the movie.
I agree. Meanwhile, he gets a call from the resistance, which is the bigger organization that a lot of these people are still involved in because the French 75 is gone, and telling him that he's got to run, but he doesn't remember the passcodes, so he's got to like fumble through the passcodes trying to remember them. He's like too high to be taken seriously. This is like the real moment in the movie where we see like the role of paranoia and like this intersection with drug use, which I think is interesting. I think my understanding is what the book that it's based on is more about. But anyway, he takes off. He's got a tunnel he's built, so he takes off through the tunnel. They like storm it, trying to execute him. They don't find him there. They decide not to chase him down the tunnel, so they throw gas. So he's coughing and hacking. He climbs out. He's running around town in his bathrobe. He's having a paranoid, delusional kind of.
Well, he's not having a.
But it's like your worst nightmare when you're high, except it's actually happening to him.
Yeah,
for real. He can't find a place to charge. He's got this special phone. He calls from a payphone, and then begins this running gag where he's trying to get the location for the rendezvous so he can meet up with his daughter, but he can't remember the password prompts. Some like greener guys on the phone who's giving him a really hard time about not remembering. He's not going to give the rendezvous point.
The hotline. So this is an interaction where I thought was a more successful contrast of like the old school revolutionary with all the tactics and the passcodes and the hotline, and like sort of like the new generation, which was like he's going back and forth with this person on the phone who has not been as active on the front lines as Ghetto Pat.
Yeah.
Ghetto Pat's now washed up, but this guy is like lecturing him about not reading the text.
Yeah, the text. You clearly didn't take the text seriously. You would know the answer to these questions.
And I thought at one point,
theory is important, people.
Theory is important.
Read your theory.
Read your theory. You should know your passwords. But at one point, Leonardo DiCaprio calls him a liberal, which I think is funny.
Yeah, that's right.
He sort of starts to give the guy a hard time on this, like, you're a liberal, progressive, stupid woke guy.
Yeah,
which is funny.
Yeah.
It's a funny contrast, and it's one of several contrasts that we start to set up because he ends up running into her karate instructor. He ends up going to her karate instructor.
So he gets desperate. He runs into the karate instructor's place. While this is happening, they're raiding the town. They're rounding people up. They're mass arresting people, immigrants, Latino immigrants. Then the town sort of organizes a resistance. And there's a huge clash. And here's another interesting moment where there's like we're talking about tactics. So this military police that they're using. These are all serious guys. They have serious weapons. They have all the serious, talk. We're gonna go kinetic and all this kind of thing. They realize that the town is gonna be nonviolently resisting them, so they have one of their thugs dress up as protesters and throw a Molotov cocktail.
They always do. They always have those guys.
Which I think was an interesting tidbit, not just showing like how serious and sophisticated. You're up against people who are ruthless. They understand the situation. They know the kinds of things they need to do to win, and they're not going to not do them because they're illegal or because they're distasteful or whatnot. And you can't be sort of ignorant about that, like the extent to which they'll go. So the town is like erupted in this like big battle between the citizenry and the police. Leo runs into this dojo. He goes in the back. He comes out. I need a weapon. All you have back there are nunchucks, which is a hilarious line. Benicio del Toro. So there's like this excellent contrast, because I think one of the reasons this part of the movie is picking up is Leo's character has this frenetic energy that he's pulls off a few times in his career, which does a really good job here. And Benicio del Toro is completely unfazed.
Yeah. Well, and clearly we don't know the extent of it right away. Although Benicio del Toro pretty early on says, like, we have a Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad situation happening. It's not like just that the town is suddenly fighting back against this immigration raid. There was established organization and infrastructure, in part led by, it sounds like, Benicio del Toro and his wife and their family and their community. And so when shit starts to go down, they have people they already have in hiding. They move more people into hiding. They've got people going to the streets. They've got people coordinating. It's clearly active and ongoing resistance. And it's a good contrast to what's going on with Leonardo DiCaprio, because he's washed up. He's no longer a part of the real resistance. And he's got all these sort of paranoid ideas about you can't use a cell phone, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I'm not going to make commentary on which tactic is right or not, but you have an entire organized resistance. And you go through Benicio del Toro's like walk through his store and his apartment, and everyone's on a phone, and they are using phones, and he's on the phone. So like there's sort of like the paranoid tactics versus the we're just going to do this anyways. And clearly Benicio del Toro's character is far more confident in doing much more in the modern day than.
But yeah, what do you make of the contrast between the two? Because there's not just the contrast between Leo as he is now and Benicio del Toro as he is now, and they're both roughly the same age. Too.
Yeah.
So I think there's a tendency to say this is a generational thing.
It's not.
It's not.
No.
Benicio del Toro just burned out and gave in.
He's just still doing it.
Yeah.
And you see that with a couple characters. The Regina Wilson's character, the Deandra or Lady Champagne characters never burnt out.
Correct.
The tech guy who's known as
Billy Goat
never burns out.
Mm-hmm.
They do maintain these sort of more archaic leftist tactics about like,
take it easy. the
passwords and you can't use anything over 1G and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And clearly that's
out the pamphlets.
Clearly the other side of the spectrum is like what you're seeing amongst the Latino community just organizing, and like they don't seem to have time or energy to dispense there, so they just don't. I don't think PTA has an opinion one way or the other. I don't even know if he knows what he's getting into. I do think that because it's based off Vineland, I think there's a built-in criticism of that like paranoid tradition.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's like they are not so caring about the individual revolutionary, like the survival and success of the individual revolutionary. It retreats into this sort of revolutionary mass, which is organized, but no single person, I guess Benicio del Toro is important to it, but no single person is run by fear. They're not run by fear. They're run by like a collective sense of like controlling everything by being part of everything.
Yep.
And I think this like Benicio del Toro lectures Leo at some point about first the scale. This is going to happen before. This happened before us. It's going to happen after us. It's not really about us. We're part of a much larger story. He calms him down by saying ocean waves, and then he also gives him this lecture about like fear is the ultimate enemy.
He also talks about sometimes you're on defense, sometimes you're on offense.
Yep.
All of these things I just think are when you contrast them with the very little that we see of the French 75, which is pretty much like passwords, tactics, and blowing shit up.
Yeah.
It strikes you as like this is a more sustainable way of doing organizing. I don't think that's a fair contrast necessarily. I think in some ways this is kind of cheap shots against the quote unquote. It wasn't the new left because it's like the timeline's wrong, but I think there's some cheap shots against the new left, and I don't think that's fair. But I do think that it's also notable that there's a reason to be paranoid about cell phones and tracking devices, and the movie also doesn't dispute that.
Yeah.
It also, I can't want to jump ahead, but the way the movie ends, where it's sort of like Leonardo DiCaprio's moved away from some of the paranoia, has gaping holes.
Yeah.
So it's just not that simple.
Yeah. Leo gets frustrated. It gets back on the phone trying to get the rendezvous point. He's frustrated because he can't get past this person.
So he asks for a manager,
which is great. So he turns into a Karen against the liberal. The manager gets on the phone, and this is another, I think, failure of the movie where the guy, he knows this guy. Yeah. They fought together back in the day, and the new question is now like, what kind of pussy I like?
Yeah.
So this is a man of color who answers the phone, and it becomes, again, it's about like their sexual. I don't know why this has to come up again.
Yeah, I mean, he could have asked him like, "What's my favorite cereal?"
Or anything like, There's only one type of intimacy, which is like we all know our sexual predilections, and a lot of this was like I guess free love stuff. I mean, the Weather Underground did have this element of like sort of sexualization of their camaraderie. So I guess there's something there, but
some stories of that for some people some of the time.
Yeah, but
it has been overplayed.
Yeah, I think that's another failure of the film that they do this. But anyway, okay, so he gets the rendezvous point, and Benicio del Toro says, "Let's go." He has a gun for him. He hands him off to the skater kids who are running around the town, like being reconnaissance, I guess, and they're running across the rooftops. And then we watched this probably 3 times, rewind it. Leo can't make the jump from rooftop to rooftop, falls down like what 4 stories.
Yeah,
breaks his fall.
We watched it
branches.
a couple times, and then our eldest kid came downstairs, and he read the subtitles, and it was something like, you know, your dude just fell off the roof, and our eldest child was like, really? And we're like, okay, you got to watch it. So he falls off the roof and he gets tased and arrested.
Yeah, and I think like it's funny.
It is.
It's funny to watch him fall. It's funny to watch him stumble around. It's funny to watch him immediately get tased by a police officer.
Still in a bathrobe.
Yeah, he's still in a bathrobe. It's like,
but this
is something PTA has done his whole career, which is mix very serious subjects with a sense of humor and absurdity without threatening the like integrity of the serious subject, right? So we don't get this feeling that he's making light of the topics on screen, and not everyone is satirized or joked about, but there's a sense of like appreciation about how even in very serious context there's very absurd things happening.
Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of a goofy character, but there's that kind of humor also happens with Benicio del Toro's character at one point. So he does that successfully, but I think he largely does that successfully because he gets excellent actors who pull off their characters.
Yeah. Well, I think it's worth giving credit where credit is due. When you have a really good score, you have really good actors, you have really good cinematography.
Yeah, the cinematography.
You have a pretty good script, which is PTA's script, and you mix it all together in a way that's like
the weakest part was the script. The other stuff was really good, but that's because he had millions and millions of dollars to just get the best of everything.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, having Sean Penn, I don't know about that, but you know, this part is like
if they handed you $140 million, you can have a really good score. It's a really good cinematography.
I guess that's true.
Anyways, he gets arrested, and you're like, oh my god, he's gotten arrested. Now what's going to happen?
Right. So he's arrested. It's like this is the end.
Yeah.
Nope. Meanwhile, Lady Champagne has delivered Willa to a convent of black women out in the desert someplace. Yeah. And they have an interesting interaction where you see Willa you're seeing signs of Willa's mom in her, of her like defiance and self-assuredness.
I also had an issue with that because we didn't learn that Perfidia is defiant. We learned that she was a strong leader in a violent revolutionary group. And we learned that she had some psychosexual stuff with Sean Penn. But we didn't learn she walks into a room and is just unnecessarily defiant for the hell of it. We didn't actually learn that about her. We can assume that about her because we're supposed to assume a bunch of stereotypical things about her. And then you have Willa, who's a 16-year-old under very stressful circumstances and gets told your mom is a rat and you are a baby rat and you are a problem, and she becomes defiant. Suddenly there's like 6 or 7 different lines about how you are her. You're just like her, you are her. This is all new. We've never had this. We've never seen this from her. Right. No one's ever said anything, and suddenly it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, okay.
And it felt like write a better screenplay.
Yeah, it felt like maybe all black women are like this all the time.
Or like you clearly want us at this point in the movie to start thinking about this. Mm-hmm. So you're just gonna bang us over the head with it a couple times.
Yeah.
But it's like you could write a better screenplay.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my take on that. But again, you've got another female character, another person of color character that just like it's just not it's not well written, and the character's not well developed. Leonardo DiCaprio's character is much better written and much easier to understand.
And you think it's because PTA understands Leo's character a lot better? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Same with Sean Penn's character. Same to some extent with Benicio del Toro's character. Yeah. The little lines and the interactions, they just make sense. They're building a character for you that's nuanced and complex and has depth and humor. And then you have like Perfidia, Willa, and Lady Champagne, who's probably the best version of it.
Yeah.
And what do we know about her? All we know is that she's a devoted revolutionary.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we know about her.
The less you know about these people too, the more serious they are. It's like the more you examine any of these individual people, the more you can see the ways in which their flaws are overshadow their principles or their.
Well, that's expected, right?
Yeah, I think that rings true to me, but it does seem like the big point about that for me is like people's weird predilections or hang-ups or flaws or whatever you want to say about it are always there, and they're always informing like the things that they care about or the things they're committed to, but you have to give people the grace of letting the things that they choose to do, given their baggage, to be primary over the baggage. And in this movie, I really get the feeling that he thinks that the baggage is what's driving all the other stuff. And I don't think that's fair to the people who made these sacrifices or taking these risks.
That's a good point.
Okay, so
Will is at the nuns. Leonardo DiCaprio has been arrested.
yes,
but don't worry, it's short-lived.
Yeah, so he gets dragged up into the police department, and he goes to the front of the line to the intake person, who's a Latino woman, and we begin to see there's a connection here which has not been made before about the ways in which everything runs on this labor, but the labor is untrustworthy because it's also being mistreated.
She's a nurse.
Yeah. And she's a nurse, and she does intake, and she knows who he is. She's expecting him because Benicio del Toro has been informed that Leo's fallen off of a building, and he doesn't panic. He knows immediately the next step is, I'm going to save this guy, and I'm going to save it with my deep connections to the community, which I'm organizing, this resistance. So she's expecting him. She gets him to say that he hasn't taken his insulin. Instead of going to prison, he goes to the hospital. Yeah. And then there's another nurse in the hospital who cuts the handcuffs that he's handcuffed to the bed and tells him how to escape the hospital. So he immediately escapes, runs down the fire escape, and meets up again with Benicio del Toro, who is very proud of himself for having saved the 75er twice in one day. And they take off.
The efficacy of Benicio del Toro and his community, and their readiness to do what they need to do, and their sort of presence throughout the community, and it just I think that's one of the political strengths of the movie.
Yeah.
I've seen some criticisms where they're like, all this stuff, whether it's his stuff or it's the revolutionaries who continue to be revolutionaries or who aren't Leonardo DiCaprio or Perfidia, they're all on the edges of the frame. And that's a criticism of the movie, but I think that's not a bad thing. I think that seeing this main story go forward and seeing it for what it is, which is not a revolutionary hero story.
It is certainly not.
And having all of these real moments of struggle and power and strength on the frame, I think is actually a strength of the movie and the strength of the politics of the movie. I'm not sure the director completely understands that, but it's clearly.
Yeah.
To me, as an optimist trying to watch the movie, that's the best part.
I agree. I think there's a real sense of solidarity, which is the world. First of all, the police are obviously fascist. These cops are fascist.
Really see
the militarized
police. We just see these
militarized police, and they are extremely well trained machines. They don't care where you point them. They're going to shoot whatever you point them to shoot at.
Yeah.
And they believe in what they're doing, I guess, because they're keeping America safe. And I think they're almost all white or all white. The Christmas Adventure Club is clearly a fascist organization. Oh, yeah. They're not even hiding that. And they want the world to be made of people who are always out to get each other, who are untrustworthy, particularly if you're not part of the same racial group. Everyone's in it for themselves, and it's ambition and backstabbery and maneuvering. But out in the real world, where Leo is trying to survive and find his daughter, he's surrounded by people who have his back, who care about him for no other reason. They're not trying to get anything out of him, but they just feel it's important that they do what they can to take care of each other, and that includes taking very significant risks to themselves to do it. I mean, I think that's a helpful message.
I think that's how I interpret it.
And that there's, even though, and I also think it's important that you want to tell a story about a washed up guy, but I'm not telling you that everyone like this gets washed up.
Yeah,
that's another important.
That's definitely how I interpret it. I could see some people, given what you just said, being like, but why is this washed up idiot white man the center of everyone's universe? Why are they taking personal risks for this guy? This guy? And I think actually Benicio del Toro is taking the risks because of his relationship with the daughter. It's not this, but I could see people being like, why do we have this?
Well, and also because they appreciate that he threw everything away to change the world, and they failed, but they tried to change the world, and they gave up a lot to do that.
From a practical standpoint, Benicio del Toro probably has more other people and other things to be worried about on that night than this guy, and I just interpret it as that he's not going to let Willa.
I see. I mean,
get gotten.
I kind of like the idea that they're not making these cold calculations about where to extend their solidarity. They're going to help everyone who's on their side as much as they can, and they're not going to do what the other side is doing, which is trying to figure out who's expendable and who's worth saving or worth protecting, based upon a selfish or self-interested idea of what the best outcome is. Then we get an update on Lockjaw. So this whole time you're sort of wondering, maybe you're starting to suspect a little bit why Lockjaw's doing this, but you're kind of wondering why sudden interest in Bob and Willa. And you get a scene of the Christmas adventurers figuring out what to do. So they've been doing research. They found intelligence that at some point Lockjaw had a relationship with Perfidia, and they can barely say what the offspring of that relationship might be, as a half black, half white person. And they're really angry about this because his raid on this chicken restaurant that he's using as cover to go after this town is owned by one of the Christmas adventurers. I think the chicken restaurant is supposed to be Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And you can easily imagine the owners of Chick-fil-A being part of this. But so you see this contradiction where they have this like obsession with racial purity, but the owner of this chain is really mad that someone's fucking with his undocumented immigrant workforce.
Right. So, right. It's this tension where they want their white supremacy, and they also need their laborers. So in this case, Lockjaw's doing immigration raids where there are legitimately illegal immigrants. But this is not the immigration raids that these supremacists at this time want, because they have their own bottom lines to protect. I don't get the sense that they're necessarily against removal of illegal immigrants under all circumstances, but certainly the Christmas Adventurers Club wants to be in control of when and how immigration is used as a tactic to remove laborers. And in this case, this was not sanctioned. Yeah. So they have to deal, and they also don't want to be humiliated by Lockjaw. So Lockjaw's like lack of purity is a problem. His interest in removing the evidence is a problem for them, and doing it to their brethren in this case. Yeah.
She wouldn't even know, but he's supposed to be acting on their behalf, and he's acting for their interests.
And it's also interesting because Lockjaw, this character, is clearly on some arc that's both personal ambition and his own ideas about his identity and his supremacy. And he's kind of like a dumb guy version of it, where he just wants to be part of it. Yeah. And so this doesn't play out, but it wouldn't surprise me at all that he'd be like surprised that it would be problematic that he would take out certain immigrants. Yeah. In fact, I think he would be surprised that they'd be like, no, don't leave them alone. You're one of us.
He like believes it too much.
Yes.
Like they didn't realize that they're sort of playing this game where they want immigrants to be precarious and endangered and under a constant threat, but that they're supposed to still be tolerated and used
under certain circumstances. Yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing about him, which becomes very clear by the end, is that he does believe it too much. He wants to be part of it so much, and he has his own personal demons that kind of make it hard for him to get it, and he wants to beat those back because he really wants to be in. And what he thinks he's signing up for is probably a much more pure version than really exists. Yeah. It's really just about who's in charge.
The serious people at the top of this thing are much more comfortable sitting with the contradictions of having a bottom line, and using racism as a means to an end, as opposed to end in and of itself.
Isn't that power? If you're at the top, you get to choose how and when you apply your ideology. Yeah,
and when it doesn't matter to you at all, when being a hypocrite has absolutely nothing. Doesn't weigh on you at all, because you have much more important things.
But clearly, there is a narrative where the hypocrisy of having personal relationships or intimate relationships is far worse than the hypocrisy of having capitalist or economic relationships. Right. They are, and I don't think they're cosplaying this. They are personally degraded by the idea of interpersonal relationships, but they have no problem with economic relationships.
Yeah, because the market means you're right. It always means you're right. If you're making money, it means you're doing something right. Personal relationships, there's nothing valuable about them. But
and an exploitative relationship would would be okay. And that's even more interesting about Lockjaw is his exploitative relationship. It's like they do play with this a little bit. Like he is using violence and sex as exploitation against her, but so is she. Mm-hmm. And at the end, he explains, I'm jumping ahead, but at the end, he explains his own relationship with her as one where she took advantage of him. And if that
in reverse.
Right. Because she's a semen demon. Yeah. And it's almost like he thinks that's an out. But I think that in their mind, they're like, you're doing exploitation wrong. Like, we'd rather hear the opposite of that. Yeah. because he's got these ideas about purity that are, I don't know, naive, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So they have decided that him trying to make a fool of them by hiding this, coupled with his disregard for their interest by not following orders, means that he has got to go. Right. So there's orders now from the Christmas Club to come kill him, which I think this is exactly the counterpoint to the sort of very generous solidarity on behalf of like the Benicio del Toros of the world, is this like unfeeling cold calculation of everyone is an individual. Nothing matters more than my personal ambition, and everyone around me is disposable.
It's not just Benicio. Benicio del Toro's character in their community has the strongest example of that. But the fact that the resistance is continuing to protect Bob and Willa, and that they bring her to the nuns. The nuns are like, oh my gosh, what a pain in the ass they have to deal with Perfidia's daughter, and Lady Champagne is like, no, we do. So there's a comradely ethos from the washed up old leftists too. Yes. It's not just.
Yes, I agree. Okay.
So they got to kill him. So now everyone is racing to the same place.
Right. So Lockjaw figures out where the daughter is being held. He has his goon squad. These guys are, I think, they're military police, but they're clearly like they're meant to be faceless stormtroopers is what they are. They're fascist stormtroopers. He points them at the convent, and they don't hesitate to go raid the convent and to grab the girl. Meanwhile, Benicio del Toro and Leo are speeding down the highway. The cop tries to pull him over. So
because they're both drinking beer as they're driving,
which is like, why are you doing? You can be a little bit less chill about this, maybe. And this is where Benicio del Toro gives Leo the speech about fear, how being fearless is actually the highest form of freedom. And this is the counterpoint to the subplot about paranoia. It's like you can't be yourself if you're living in fear.
So Bob has to jump out of the moving vehicle.
Yeah, and he basically gets pushed because he won't jump. He jumps out with the gun. He races to the convent because he knows now where the rendezvous point is.
And Benicio del Toro takes it on the chin as he gets pulled over.
Yeah,
driving under the influence.
He has a delightful little smirk as he's like, "I've had a few small beers. You know where a small beer is."
That's where that's the best. Arc. That's my favorite performance. By far.
Yeah, this is the end of his arc. He's very self-satisfied that he's pulled off this insane rescue, this also sophisticated underground railroad thing. He's gotten all of his people out of there. So he's very happy to sort of take one on the chin a little bit with the cops that pull him over.
And the cops that pull him over are a different breed of cop too.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, I mean, it's like you don't see regular cops until this interaction, and the regular cops in the story, not to say the regular cops are great, but there's like those guys, and then there's like this militarized stormtrooper version, and those guys are like the super fascists.
Yeah, these are the ones that are like hidden from everyday society.
Right.
They're way on the wings to follow orders and kill whoever they're told to kill. So
now Bob's on his way to the convent.
He realizes that it's been raided. He sees Lockjaw with his daughter. He pulls out his rifle that Benicio gave him and starts shooting, which is kind of hilarious because there's like 15 of these stormtroopers who shoot back at him. He has to crawl back to his car and run away.
Yes. Also, at this point, Willa and Sean Penn have had their intro.
Oh, yeah. So I forgot about this. Okay. So they get locked in a room together, and we find out now the Lockjaw is obsessed with this question of whether this is actually his daughter or not. He's like, he sexualizes the girl. He sees the mother in the girl. The Willa remains defiant throughout, is sort of horrified by him. She makes a comment about why is your shirt so tight, and then his insistence that he's not a homosexual, I think, is kind of like
he volunteered that really fast. Yeah.
He does a quick DNA test, discovers that it's his kid. Now you got a problem, he says, with obviously the subtext is he has to kill her to get rid of the evidence. And she understands this. So she's trying to get away, but she's tied up. She's not able to get away. He shoves her in the car. Her father starts shooting at them. He gets run away. Lockjaw takes off and meets his bounty hunter, who is a Native American.
Yeah, so we've heard about the bounty hunter because the Christmas Adventurers Club have also figured out that he's going to use this bounty hunter.
And they don't know whether to trust him because he's, quote, not native born.
So the assassin that the Adventurers Club put on Sean Penn's tail knows about the bounty hunter and is like, oh yeah, he's a good soldier. He pretends to be half Mexican, but he's actually, indigenous.
Yeah.
And there's a very silly set of lines where they're like, he's not a native son, which is absurd.
Yeah,
Of course, he is a native son.
It's not my subtext.
But they're not sure if they can trust him.
Right. He's a very good tracker. He's very accomplished and capable, but he's not exactly trustworthy.
So then Sean Penn meets up with him.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I'm not going to kill the kid.
Yeah, I'm not going to kill the kid. I don't care how much you pay me. I'm not going to kill the kid. So he says, well, will you deliver her to this other place?
This other guy who will kill the kid.
Yeah. So apparently there's just like some of these guys, maybe ex-special forces guys hanging out who are perfectly willing to like dump bodies in the nearby river. So they just have these people all over the place, I guess, is what we're supposed to infer from this.
Yep. So the non-native son, Native American, ends up with the girl, goes to drop her off to the absolute insane white supremacist who will kill kids, drops her off.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out if someone's going to come looking for Willa, which is a funny... Worried about that. He's very upset about this whole situation, but he's kind of worried whether he's going to get in trouble because someone's going to come looking for her.
When he first asked her, someone coming to look for you, I thought it was because he was like calculating, if I let you out, will someone come rescue you?
Yeah.
But I guess that's probably not the interpretation. I watch all these things with such optimism.
Yeah, no, he's trying to figure out whether he's going to get in trouble. So she's like, yeah, you're definitely going to get in trouble.
He drops her, and they, the guy who's in charge of, I guess, executing her or getting the right guy to execute her, like makes, racial remarks, nasty remarks to the Native American.
So he sits in his car. I guess he thinks about this and realizes he's just not comfortable with it. So he
just wants to go kill some white supremacists.
Yeah. So he stacks his shotgun. He walks over. He unties her and then starts shooting them.
Yep. Which is a great scene.
Yep. We start to see Willa become responsible for her own survival in a new way. She runs to the car. She tries to take the car. She realizes she doesn't have the keys. She grabs a gun, which is kind of amazing. She runs back to where the shootout had just happened. Finds that everyone's dead, essentially. She grabs the keys, drives away.
This guy, this non-native born native person, bounty hunter, essentially sacrifices himself to save her.
Yes.
He's willing to go out, and he does. And so she gets the keys off his dead body and gets in the car.
Yeah. So she's now driving off.
Well, and also what's already happened is that Sean Penn's been shot and driven off the road by the assassin that the Christmas Adventurers Club has sent them.
Yeah. So what's happens now is a series of car chases. And the car chases are not like action car chases. They're much more of like a Western type of like tracking and remain having a line of sight on the person you're tracking in this very hilly straightaway.
These desert, yeah. The landscape is so cool.
The shot, I mean, I think this is going to be this will be remembered as like one of the best car chase scenes of all time because they're going really fast on these roads. They're going up and down, and you're forcing the camera to go up and down with it. So you're sort of seeing the target, and then you're not seeing the person they're chasing over and over again. First is the Christmas Adventurer assassin chasing down Lockjaw. He rolls up next to him. He shoots him in the face and knocks the thing off the highway. Knocks his car off the highway. And then
notably does not finish the job, which is kind of like that's like your number one job, but whatever.
But we believe that Lockjaw is like clearly dead at this point.
We do, but he just shoots him in the head and the car goes off the road. I found that not to be a complete job, but whatever.
The car speeding away from this, he passes by Bob, who's looking for Lockjaw because he thinks that his daughter's still in the car. He spots the accident. And this is the only time where Bob and Lockjaw are in the frame at the same time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, is there another time?
There's one time where Lockjaw goes behind him in a grocery store and says, right. Do you like black women?
I really like black women. Which is like one of the most creepy, eerie, and this is the sexual fetishization of black women, obsession. But
the next time they're in the same frame is Bob finding him
hanging
from the car.
Yeah, he's hanging upside down and the vehicle has been overturned. He seems to be dead. Will is nowhere to be found. So he gets back in the car, and Will is being chased now by the Christmas Adventurer guy.
Yeah.
So
you have Willa in the front, Christmas Adventurer assassin, and Dad.
Yeah, and they're all sort of running up and down this same stretch of highway. So Willa figures out from this hilly terrain how she's going to escape this guy. So she gets over a ridge, goes down just enough, parks the car, and runs to the side of the road. The Christmas Adventurer guy peeks the hill, has no time to avoid slamming into her car. There's a terrible accident. He crawls out, and then I think
she's screaming the passcode
Yeah.
because she now realizes that these tactics are useful, and there's a desperation to her, like her adherence to them.
Yeah.
So she's screaming the passcode to be like, if I don't get this passcode back, I'm killing this guy.
Yeah. And he obviously doesn't know the passcode, so she shoots him. He tries to pull a weapon. She shoots him down, and I do appreciate that. Like, this is not an action scene. She's clearly like very upset by having had to kill this guy. She's like frozen in terror. And then Dad appears, and there's like this really sort of touching but unsettling human moment where he's trying to convince her that he is who he says he is, and she's now like sort of, like you said, holding on to these passcode like a safety blanket.
Right, which he said he does. He does give the passcode.
Yeah, but he's sort of also insisting that it's him. Just look who I am. You don't need. You can sort of, our relationship can surpass these tactics.
Yeah,
and they embrace. They get the fuck out of there,
and then it's just over. I mean, like this is where there's plot holes. They just drive home.
Yeah, they drive away, and then Lockjaw is doing his weird walk down the highway with his weird gun covered in blood.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, is there going to be like another? But no, there's not.
It's he's just still alive.
Yeah. So fast forward in time, Lockjaw is being debriefed by the adventurers, and his face is all fucked up from being shot. He apparently has no idea who tried to shoot him, which is strange.
Yeah, that's strange. But he still wants it on the club. He still wants the club.
Wants it more than anything.
Yep.
So he comes up with this crazy story about how he was taken to the enemy and he was drugged, and because he's so strong of mind and body, they just had to have his sperm.
Right.
As breeding stock. So they there's a semen demon him, and that he expects them to believe this. They do not. So they lead him down a hallway.
Well, they say, congratulations, you're in.
Yeah.
And really, it's like, oh my gosh, he's this combination of ambitious and insecure about his own identity and space in the world, and so badly believes in these ideas about supremacy and membership that like it's the happiest day of his life.
Yeah. It's Christmas.
It's Christmas. And they give him a little office.
They give him a little office. It's completely barren and sterile.
He's teary-eyed and he's made it.
Yeah, so they're gonna go get the key for the office.
But obviously, if you're paying any attention at all, they're gonna gas the office.
Yeah. And so he kicks his feet up on the desk.
And he dies. A happy man.
A very happy man, but dies nonetheless. And I think there's something here about, well, first of all, they're gassing him and putting him into a furnace. So that's some Nazi stuff.
Kind of heavy-handed.
There's also...
It reminded me of the scene in the tactic is the same as in the Man of the High Castle, where they gas that the family. They have these. Remember, there's this like bureaucracy of families coming into immigration offices to prove that who they are, and half the time the rooms are just gassing people. It reminded me of that. It's very Nazi.
Yeah, it's very Nazi. And also, like, he's a tough guy. He's in really good shape. He's a little Napoleon maybe, but he's in really good shape. This car crash didn't kill him. This shot to the face didn't kill him. But gas is, it doesn't matter how strong you think you are. And it just highlights like how they say that they're on this like project to like uplift a certain type of white man, but they actually don't give a shit about anybody. Everyone's disposable, and he's disposable, so they get rid of him.
Sure.
And then the biggest plot hole in the whole movie.
Right. So like really, Bob and Willa just drive off into the sunset, go back to their same home with their same names, and they're just, patch up their front door and
just carry
on. And they do this whole like, we started the movie with Perfidia during those terrible 30 minutes, and they feel like they need to close that loop. So the daughter gets a letter.
Yeah. So actually, one thing I wanted to mention is that Lockjaw, he says something along the lines of like, I have a calling which is more important to me
than having you.
And that
he says that to Willa.
He says it to Willa when he realizes that she is in fact his daughter, and that he has to deal with that. And that you can see that there's a part of him that wants his child in the world, but his calling to this white supremacist ideological project is more important to him. It's an honor and a calling that he can't refuse, and has to therefore, in one sense, erase his own child, but in another sense, like forsake the future.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I think, we're supposed to interpret this is the same thing that her mother did. That her mother allowed the revolution she was fighting to overshadow her obligations to her own child and therefore the future.
Yeah, what's interesting there too is like clearly her ambition was not the revolution she was fighting because she was so willing to give it up. So she similar to Lockjaw maybe has this ambition for greatness. She has the chasing of something that in the chase everything gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Which clearly happens to her and clearly happens to him.
And this is as maybe impotent, but obviously as buffoonish as Leo does, he is clear-eyed about this, that the most important thing, once Will is in the world, she is the most important thing. She is his primary responsibility.
And people would argue, well, that's counter-revolutionary to put like your family first, blah, blah, blah. But that feeling of the people around me are the most important is echoed in when Perfidia gives them all up and they all have to go underground. Their project is protecting one another for decades to come.
Yeah.
Like the Deandra, Lady Champagne, she goes down because he will not give up Bob.
Yeah.
2 decades later.
Yeah.
And it's similar to what you see with Benicio del Toro. It's like our project is protecting one another. Mm-hmm. So it's not bourgeois family values. It's something about the human connections here, which you do not see in the fascist stormtroopers, and you do not see in the Christmas warriors, and you do not see in Sean Penn. And I think you're supposed to be like, we don't see it in Perfidia, but they try to rehabilitate her with a letter. So there's a letter, and she's basically like, I think about you all the time. Yeah. And hopefully someday I'll see you.
And I see that the lies that I have told have destroyed our relationship, but nonetheless, I understand the mistakes that I've made, and that my redemption is I understand that I fucked this up, and that I was living life as sort of pretending in the same way that Lockjaw was pretending. And I see that, and I think about you all the time, and I love you, and I hope to see you again.
It falls very, very flat. It feels like what it feels like is like, oh, we have to tie up this loose end. We don't want to make her the ultimate. We don't want to make this woman the villain, and we want to give her a nice way out. Mm-hmm. And Willa reads it and is happy, and we're supposed to just be happy with that. I don't believe it. Notably, the letter reproduces actual lines from a Weather Underground correspondence.
Oh, really?
The letter starts with, "Dear Dad, hello from the other side of the shadows." So it says, "Dear Willa," or "Dear Charlene," her original name, "hello from the other side of the shadows." But yeah, the letter just doesn't do enough work. I just don't know.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. And honestly, I think they should just have cut the whole Perfidia character. I mean, they should have made her just much more of a wisp of a character and trying to make her more just makes her less real. Yeah.
More of like letting the watcher fill in the blanks a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like have all these big questions you can't answer, as opposed to knowing the answers and really being unsatisfied by the answers about what her motivations are.
And you can say, oh, well, it's important that a black female was the leader of this group. And it's like, well, is it, if you're going to make her just like all flaws?
Yeah. I mean, if you're considering becoming more politically active, it's sort of a cautionary tale, which is the people who take this more seriously than you are nuts. They're motivated by all the wrong things, and they're going to sell you out when the shit hits the fan.
Which is why Brianna Joy Gray thinks it's an anti-left psyop, the whole film.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is, but I think what is true is that the politics of the film are so ambiguous, sort of, that you can kind of see what you want to see you can see what you want to see about the more traditional leftists. You can see them as inept. You can see them as having some good ideas. You can see them as flawed. You can see same with the more modern resistance. You can see the good. You can see the bad. You see the fascists as horrible fascists, but you can sort of paint it how you want to paint it because the politics aren't explicit.
I mean, he wants to condemn everyone and criticize everyone, and I would agree, criticize everyone.
But who is he to criticize leftists?
That's less important to me than what the criticism is. And to me, that's where this fails, is the criticism kind of falls short. He also he does this thing which liberal left critics of leftism do a lot, which they can only, like Benicio del Toro's movement is the thing he doesn't really criticize. Right. And the reason he does that is what Benicio del Toro makes very explicit, which is they're acting in the defense. And when you're acting in the defense as a leftist, then you're sympathetic. But as soon as you go on offense as a leftist,
everything you do is wrong.
Everything you do is wrong, and also motivated by the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right? There's no justification for ever being on the offense or taking power or wielding power. It's always you're supposed to be reacting to something worse, and that's the only time that you're stomachable.
And you started this episode with a staunch criticism of this type of leftist tactics in taking power.
Yeah, well, that's true. My criticism is you need a lot of people, particularly people who are connected to labor, to be involved in making change. You cannot do it as a small band of extremely committed, even if they're willing to risk everything. You're not going to create change. And they talk about their failures at creating change. And so does the Weather Underground, by the way.
Yeah. And we don't, I mean, the politics are not central to this movie. We don't have the context. We don't know what their broader resistance group looked like. We don't know what else they were doing. I don't think we're meant to.
The big send-off to the movie is that, and this is the resolution of the tension between Leo and Perfidia that runs through the whole movie, which is how is one supposed to take revolution against something that should be overthrown seriously if you have obligations like family, like you have a daughter that needs you and a revolution that you're committed to. Mm-hmm. And I think that the resolution here is now the daughter is a revolutionary. So she gets a call to run down to...
She got a radio.
She has a radio, yeah. And she gets called to join a big protest in Oakland. And she runs off. And Leo has done his job because what he's done is by caretaking the next generation and by caretaking the future, sacrificing his own commitment to the revolution, he's created the grounds. And I think so. This is a clever way of resolving this, because you get to have your optimistic vision of the future, which is, but I'm doing both. I'm taking care of the revolution by making sure that there's people to fight it in the future, and that's a good thing. But also, it's kind of a cop-out. It's like, don't you owe your children a better... Like, he can sit on the couch and get high all day because his kids and the other kids are going to solve this problem for him.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't he have a bigger obligation to the world than that?
I mean, the whole last 5 minutes is very trite and sentimental. She reads a letter, she gets the radio call, she puts that in parka, she takes her cell phone, her father has a new cell phone on the couch, and
he's a bumbling idiot.
She drives into the darkness, and you get Tom Petty's American Girl playing. It's effective, like, as a movie. You're like, oh, I feel good about this.
Yes, you can see him being like, oh, this is going to be a great way to...
And I smiled when it happened, but there's so many holes. I mean, there's, like, plot holes.
They would never go back to that.
They would never be safe again. Right. They would have to completely start again. The idea that, like, we're going to resolve the paranoia by just giving in and having the cell phones is ridiculous. I mean, like, it just, like, not that everyone should be, like, without their cell phones and that's going to solve the revolution, but it's like, you haven't resolved anything. That you haven't, like, if anything, you should have felt justified in some of this paranoia, and now you're like, oh,
did we just learn that all these passcodes and stuff are actually a way to save your life? These things they have in their pocket that sing when they get close to each other is how he finds Willa.
It's how she escapes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're just gonna do away with all of that and just be like, we're not gonna be paranoid. We're gonna live free. We're gonna live without fear. And she's going to join up.
Yeah, she's going to drive 3 hours to go to a protest. And
I think it's completely true. One of the jobs of revolutionaries is to nurture and caretake the next generation, to be revolutionaries. And I think it's also true that she didn't just have this experience to become a revolutionary. I think she was raised, even by this washed up guy, to be anti-authoritarian, to understand who the enemies are. I don't think it's an accident that all of her friends knew not to tell the cops she had a cell phone. And it's not just because she was like, never tell anyone I have a cell phone, my dad will be mad at me. They knew not to tell the cops she had a cell phone.
Yeah.
So, like, she was being built to be a revolutionary by the conditions that he created for her. And it's very good that she will carry on that tradition. But, like, he's going to be high on the couch trying to take a selfie.
Yeah.
Like, his work is done.
Yeah.
It's, also, they're not safe. They're not any safer. So it's absurd for us to expect to just accept that.
Okay.
Even if Tom Petty sings us out.
Yeah. So what is your thoughts on Tom Petty here? Because it is like I have to admit that it's emotionally effective.
Very effective. I was very smiley. I loved it. And it's kind of a trick.
I mean, the idea is that,
I love the Tom Petty song.
An American Girl is not whoever you're thinking about when that song played and you were 17 and you first heard it or whatever. An American Girl is a half black, half white young woman who's on the run from the authorities and is committed to overthrowing the American system.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah. So that's good, I guess. It's sort of like a nationalist thing of like, this is forever what an American Girl is, which is in conflict with the system.
I mean,
and not like winning ever.
you
But
can't,
just
honestly, it defies any deeper analysis because the minute you start looking into like the words or the lyrics of the song, it falls apart.
yeah,
It's just emotional.
another accidental sexualization of this 16-year-old.
Yeah, it just is emotionally effective.
Yeah.
Like it just stops there and you feel good, but then you're like, wait, none of this makes sense. So I think the beginning and the end of the movie are seriously flawed. I think that the movie in between is extremely well done, really fun to watch,
captivating,
really great acting, really great cinematography. Like
lots of interesting.
It's just fun. It's like a really fun movie to watch.
Yeah, and it doesn't like he is extremely honest and brutal in his critique of the American system and the people in control of it.
Well, without much detail. I mean, he is, if it's, again, it's all feels and vibe. It's not like, there's not an explicit political critique, I wouldn't say.
There's capitalism is never mentioned, really.
Right.
There's nothing about that. But there is, these people are very serious. They're going to act illegal. They're going to act without conscience.
They have a lot of power. They have a lot of weapons.
They know who you are and they know what you're capable of, and they're completely prepared for that. And you have to be prepared in kind. And we see glimmers on both sides of like the ways in which tactics and the sort of game theory of like waging this struggle in reality against both sides, which are ultimately flawed and human, but also serious about it and do all the work that it takes to be serious about it.
Worth mentioning, we do have a guest appearance from the very youngest of the tribe.
Yeah,
this is the one who's been only sleeping 40 minutes at a time.
Oh my gosh, this is pretty exciting. What did you think of Leo's performance?
He got to watch some of it, wasn't he, with us?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess it's gonna be, I just want to let you know now that it is going to be your job to deal with fascism and the breakdown of our global ecology.
Our plan is to podcast once a week, smoke weed, and lay on the couch.
And you're going to have a lot of work to do, but
yeah.
I do want to say that I think millennials are kind of trapped at a generation that knows better. For the most part, we see exactly what this is. And I guess you could say the same thing about boomers until they didn't. But so we'll see what happens. But millennials know exactly what's coming. But we're trapped by our like comforts and our individual situations.
There's a lot of millennials that don't have a lot of comforts.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even the lack of very much comfort at all, you'd expect to see more militancy, I guess. And I do think everyone is holding their breath and waiting for like the Zoomers or Gen Alpha to come and save them. And I think a big flaw in this movie, and something that people who watch it need to take seriously, is like, you cannot offload the responsibility of making the world what it ought to be to other people because you're too afraid of like giving up your little situation. Like you have to take risks.
It's notable that in off frame of this movie, with like Benicio del Toro's community that you don't really understand, you don't get details about.
Mm-hmm.
Or even some of these, French 75 people that are still fighting, they're not offloading responsibility.
Yeah.
To some extent, there's like it resists analysis a little bit because I think the politics are deliberately unclear and the message is deliberately unclear. So the movie itself will have broad appeal. But
and he won't get accused of being like a radical communist or something.
Well,
like, you can't do a full
certainly.
endorsement of.
Certainly, no one would watch that movie and make that accusation. I mean, the accusations coming out of that movie would be like, I don't think you did your homework enough. But, but you captured the setting and emotions of the rise of fascism really well because we're all living that. Yeah. Like you didn't have to do your homework on that, which I think is, if anything, a comment on the moment. But yeah, I don't think you can't. This is not for someone else to fight.
Yeah.
Then how do you fight and raise children?
Yeah.
John Paul, how do you do it?
I don't know. I'll let you know. Podcasting is the way to do it.
Podcasting and gummies is what we've just. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, it's I spent a lot of time thinking about this because I try to be politically active and involved, but I have responsibilities to 5 children, which I take them both very seriously. So it is a conflict. And I guess my takeaway is you cannot resolve that very difficult tightrope by just being like, oh, I've done a good job by raising revolutionaries.
Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio didn't do it in this movie.
Yeah. No, I'm unsatisfied by his, although he's such a fuck up that maybe it's better that he keeps his distance.
His performance was excellent.
Yeah. Yep.
It's going to win a lot of Oscars, and we are going to try to run on those coattails. We're going to promote the hell out of this episode on Oscar time. So everybody get ready for that.
Yeah,
For that
you'll see a bunch of real
that content blitz that's coming your way.
All
All right, done and dusted.
Justin, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy
As you
2026.
grow old, your powers will fade as you grow old. You're on the make, and you don't do regret. You're always out for what you can get. You think like a snake, and you ooze like a snail. Let the trail go cold as you swallow your tail. With your low rent skills and your heart of flint, telling your tales that are unfit to print. You're all weasel words, backed up by the boots, obsessed like the rest, with a promise of loot. Your pies will fade as you grow old. 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 You demanded the sea, it obey your commands. You grab at the land with both of your hands. But candles will burn, and time will reveal all that you've done and the money you steal. The suffering you're causing gives you no pause for thought. You've got your claws in the dead summer's heart. Birds will return, as the birds always do. When they come home to roost, they'll feast on you. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old. Your pies will fade as you grow old.